What is up, Watch fam? Happy Monday. I am Christian from Theo and Harris, and welcome to Rant&h. It is a beautiful day. Tomorrow we have new vintage watches hitting the watch shop at theoandharris.com, and I couldn't be more excited. A real ton of awesome stuff. So be sure to check that out tomorrow morning at 7. If you want to check out the watch shop, the link is in our description below. And today I'm wearing an AP, vintage Royal Oak, 36 millimeters. It's hot as shit. So big fan. I actually wasn't as big of a fan as this watch until I got to actually wear one, and now I'm like obsessed with it. So I'm on that bandwagon. Today we're going to be talking about alternatives to the Rolex Submariner, and this video has been made, these articles have been made by many other people, but I wanted to give my own 2 cents, and I wanted to give you guys a couple of fresh new options and my thoughts, about certain watches that I think pack a lot of the punch as the sub, but don't cost what a sub costs. So let's get into it. First of all, I think we need to define what we're looking at as a Submariner here. Like, what does an alternative qualify? Well, what does an alternative need to be? I think it needs to be a well-designed, simplistic, hardy tool watch. That's it. I don't think it needs to be an homage to the sub. It can be, it doesn't have to be. I just think it needs to be a watch without frills that will take a beating and be by your side. So that's pretty wide parameters. I'm taking this in a much more loose sense than a lot of other people do it. They want copies, which is cool, but it's just not what we're talking about here today. So let's start off with one that many of you probably don't know: the UniMatic U2B. UniMatic is an Italian micro brand that's been getting a lot of press recently. I found out about them a couple months ago via Instagram, a couple of weeks or months ago. Who remembers now? And as soon as I saw the watch, I just saved it. And I didn't know what it was, and I didn't really do any research. But then when it started to get some heat or some traction, I was like, oh, that was that watch. And this watch looks nothing like a Submariner. It looks more like a 1920s, like almost not a tank watch, but a trench watch. But still, I think it serves that purpose. This seems like a watch that will probably go to hell and back with you, which is the core purpose of the Submariner. The dial seems extremely legible. I love the strap options it comes on. I mean, everything about this watch is handsome, it's functional in a very simplistic way, but finally just durable. NATO or rubber, nothing's going to happen to it, and you're fine. So I think that is the ultimate reason why the Submariner was so popular to begin with, and why the UniMatic, although it looks nothing like the Submariner, really does achieve that Submariner feel for like $400. So if you're talking subs, you're talking $5,000, $6,000, $7,000, $9,000, $12,000, and this watch is $400. So it's very, very hard to beat. Next, we'll go with a cliche one that you definitely saw coming: the Tudor Black Bay, priced between like $2,000 and $2,500. You can pick one up. These are great watches. There's a big debate or a conversation in the watch world now. Is the Black Bay the modern Submariner? I think the answer is no. They still achieve that basic function, but they are expensive. The Submariner was not for someone who could necessarily drop $2,000. It was for a diver, and that's why I think the UniMatic fits so well. But still, although it might not be cheap, it still is a value prop next to a sub, because at $2,000 or $2,300, you can get a watch that has quite a bit of heritage, a watch that is extremely well designed, easily serviceable, and at this point in time, really, really like hot and famous. So for me, although it might be a little bit too big, at $2,500 or at $2,300, it really is a massive value prop. You're talking half the price at a minimum from a Submariner. And frankly, I know a lot of people that have a lot more fun with their Black Bays than they do with their subs, because of the colors and the giltish dials and all that stuff. So big props to Tudor. I've given you guys a lot of hate before, but this is a watch that you've hit out of the park, and you know it. So let's go on to the next one. The next watch is the Oris 65. This is a watch that, at least in my understanding, took its price range kind of by storm. They trade around $1,000 to $1,300, and although I love the Tudor, I have to say the Oris packs more value. You're talking about half the price and a lot of the same punch, and in turn, greater value. I love the design here. I think everything from the bezel to the tropic strap and the dial is both true to the vintage Oris, models, as well as really refreshing and contemporary. It's daring in design, but in a way that normal conservative guys would have no problem wearing. It's more retro. So I'm a big fan of this watch, and maybe it's the no crown guards or the vintage heritage or the really attractive price point, but I have to slide this one right above the Tudor in my opinion. And the last one I want to mention here is an homage. It's the Steinhardt Ocean One vintage. These watches get a lot of hate. They get a lot of praise and a lot of hate. Based off of the Rolex 6200, in design, put a photo of them side by side. They're very, very similar. I really do like this watch. I tried one on. A buddy of mine owns one, and I tried it on, and I said, wow, it's built really, really well. Priced, I think, on secondhand, maybe between $600 and $800. You can't really beat it. I love the vintage design. I think that it circumnavigates the whole, stolen or replica thing, because it's, replicating a vintage model that most people don't know about. But for me, as a vintage addict, I mean, of course I know about it. So I do like that. And probably no one looks at that watch in the street and says, oh, is that a Rolex Submariner? But they would have when the Rolex Reference 6200 came out. So I have no problem with messing around with watches that really you're running very little risk of getting mistaken for. It doesn't seem like it's posing by any means. So that's it. I'm a really big fan of this watch. So that's it. Those are 4 alternatives to the Rolex Submariner. Do I think that some are better? Yes. Do I think that the Oris packs the same amount of punch as the Tudor for less money? I do. But every one of these watches, in their own right, I think any watch geek would give you approval to go ahead and pull the trigger on and save the money. Yes, the Submariner is awesome. It's one of the most important watches ever made by any company. Forget Rolex. And I 100% support the praise of the Submariner, but to be realistic, we have to understand that, $5, $6, $7, $8, $9, $10,000 is unattainable for a lot of people. So that's why we kind of thrown around some options in the 4, 5, 6, 7, and et cetera, et cetera. So that's it, guys. Thank you so much for watching today's episode of Rant&h. I hope that you like these watches and you agree with my picks. Comment in the section below if you hated my picks or loved them. Like the video if you thought that we did a good job. And if you like the video, click subscribe, because that is good for us. Thank you very much for watching, and have a great day.